Amira, well, I have to say, you're kind of like the real life Elle Woods. You're beautiful, you're intelligent, you're successful, and you're a lawyer. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't get much better than that. So I would love to hear it from your words a little bit more about who you are and your journey through all of the different careers that you've had.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, thank you so much, Megan, for having me on your podcast. And what a beautiful introduction. Love it. So, a little bit about me. My name is Amira. I'm a business lawyer, but let me just kind of go back to how it all started. So, during, school and college, I used to be a model. So, I that was like my side gig and I used to really enjoy that. And then unfortunately, I watched my own dad's business get sued for $90,000. And that kind of like changed a lot of things for us. And it was a very expensive lawsuit, but also very long lasting. It lasted an entire year. And I thought I was going to become a doctor. And I was also a teacher at the time. So I was doing both modeling and teaching. And then this lawsuit came, and that just like completely turned my life upside down. But the good thing that came out of it, and I always look at the glass half full rather than half empty, and that was that I found my purpose. I helped my dad navigate through the lawsuit, working with his lawyers. And that's when I realized, there are a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs like my dad, business owners who make legal mistakes because they either don't have the knowledge or they just don't have the access to legal help. And it's not because and nobody wants to make mistakes. So I decided that I wanted to become a business lawyer so I could help people like my dad not suffer, right? Because we suffered as a family. It was the most devastating experiences of my life. And that's how, from basically studying for med school, I went into law school. And then after working as a lawyer in the traditional sense for over a decade, I decided to take my expertise into the online space because I was working one-on-one with clients. I would always have so much of my reach, right? Like my bandwidth. So there's only so much you could do with the one-on-one work. And I just had a lot more people asking for legal help. So I said, you know what, let me start a blog. So it started as a side hustle while working during the day as a lawyer. And then at nights and weekends, I built my business. The first year we made six figures blogging. And then the second year we crossed the seven-figure mark. So I was like, oh, I'm onto something. But I was so crazy that I was still not like letting go of my job. And so it took me about 2 years to get to this point that where I felt like I've made it. And then I quit my job and went all into the online space. And now we have a self guru where I help entrepreneurs legally protect their businesses, either working with me one on one or simply downloading my done for you templates. And we've had the honor of helping over 100K entrepreneurs now. So it's an amazing, it's been an amazing journey.
Wow, this all started because your dad had experienced, honestly, a pretty big tragedy, I would almost call it, in his business. I think from what I read on your website, it sounded like he took out a 100K loan and then he was then sued for 90,000 and it was actually from a friend.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about kind of that experience and how you decided to step in and help him, even though at the time you didn't have any plans to become a lawyer.
No, I was in college. I was studying to actually go to med school. So it all started with and I call it a $90,000 handshake because this was my dad's so called friend. And this person was a freelancer that my father hired to help grow his business. It was a brand new business, only in his second year. And this person turned around and basically just betrayed him and sued him for all kinds of like frivolous stuff. At the time, obviously, I didn't have knowledge, but it was very scary. My father got sued because he never put anything in writing. There was no contract. So what he should have done was the lesson that we learned after the fact is that he should have had a freelance or some sort of an independent contractor agreement in place to outline the scope of work this person was going to do for my dad's business and how much he was going to get paid. Because my dad didn't have anything in writing, no agreement, it was just all verbal handshake deal. And that's how things were, to some degree. Like my dad's old school, right? So he's kind of like got that mentality, like, oh, yeah, that trust factor, right? And we all do. Like we all have friends, and family members that we trust. And that's why I always say that do not mix business with personal, because when money is exchanged, unfortunately, it ruins relationships. And that's the prime example of my dad there, where these people so-called were friends, but then this person turned around and ended up suing him for $90,000 and dragged us to court for like that long. So the moral of the story is just make sure that you always have a contract, no matter if it's a friend, no matter if it's a family member. Just you don't want to ruin those relationships.
And it's so unfortunate that we have to think like this because we do live in a country where people are very sue happy, and you always have to go in and protect yourself, especially as a small business owner where you have a lot to lose. Obviously, you have a lot to gain too as a small business owner. Like you said, you look at things as glass half full, which I really love, and obviously I try to look at things that way too. But you also have to go in with the right mindset, knowing that, like you said, you have to protect yourself. A handshake in today's world is really just not going to cut it anymore. And that's why I was so excited to be able to bring someone like yourself on, to be able to really bring light to how important it is for us female entrepreneurs to be able to protect ourselves and our businesses and our families. Because really, that's what everything is at the end of the day. Like, we're here to protect our families and to provide them with the best life possible, which obviously your dad was really trying to do for you. But I think it's so beautiful that you were able to be there for him in such a time of need, and then also figure out that you had a passion for it in the process. So let's talk about, okay, so you helped him during this time of crisis. And first of all, I actually want to know, what was the resolution to this handshake?
Well, in the end, we ended up settling, right? So we ended up settling outside of court, but it took an entire year of back and forth, back and forth. So my dad ended up losing that $90,000. And then we had on top of that lawyer fees. And we also had to pay this person some money to basically get, to resolve the dispute. But yeah, that was the resolution, just to settle outside of court. It just ended up taking so long to get there.
And I do feel for your family, and but like you said, like, glass is half full, so you were able to really take a lot of that knowledge that you accumulated throughout that year and really run with it to be able to find, like I said, that passion that lit you up, to be able to help so many other people. You mentioned 100,000 people that you've now been able to help because of this incident that your father experienced. So in between now and then, so much has happened. Obviously, lots of life has happened. So at what point, when you graduated law school, you said you went to actually practice law, where you were working with one-on-one clients, correct? So you mentioned that you then started the side hustle with the blog on the side. So I want to talk about that experience, because you, sounds like, had a really thriving business working in this one-to-one capacity, but wanted to reach a larger audience. So tell us a little bit more about that way of thinking and why a blog.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, by the way. So it honestly, Megan, happened very much like by accident. So I always had this nudge or this feeling, this gut feeling, and perhaps I would say it came from my dad, like being an entrepreneur and business owner, that I always felt like I wanted to be my own boss. So, or maybe perhaps I knew that I could make a bigger impact, but I just didn't know how, right? Or how to start. So I did work as a lawyer traditionally for over a decade, but then there came a time in my life where I was like, you know what? I am meant for more. I'm meant for bigger impact, more money, more meaning, all of those things, right? So I decided that, okay, I want to take this into the online space because I know that I'm going to be able to reach more people, but I just didn't know how or how to start. So then one day, I don't know, it just accidentally, I came across a video of six-figure bloggers, and they had this video that intrigued me, and I started watching it and I got hooked. And I was like, you can make money from blogging? Like, I never knew, and my mind was blown. So I was like, okay. So I watched one video, second video, and next thing I know, they had a course that you could take that would walk you through the A to Z of blogging and how to monetize your blog from zero. And so I said, you know what? Why don't I discussed it with my husband. My husband's like, oh, you're overthinking it. Just go for it. Use your lawyer money to fund this side hustle. And what's the worst can happen? That you fail, that you learn, and you move on, but at least give it a shot. just like a hobby. Like we have hobbies, right? People play golf, people play all kinds of things. So he's like, oh, just treat it like a hobby. Don't overthink it, just do it. So I kind of needed that encouragement. And so I was like, okay, let's go right in. And next thing you know, I started doing this on the side and I got really passionate about it because it was exciting. Like, I started to gain some traction and momentum. So I was like, okay, I'm onto something. And that's just kind of how the eSelf Group was born. Basically, just like a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears. Like 16-hour days to be precise, because I would go to work in the mornings, come back in the evenings, spend another 3 4 hours on my site, create legal templates. So I first offered a little bit like one-on-one, but then I was like, you know what? I have to create digital products because I cannot be trading my time for money. I have to have a more simplistic, easy way for people to get access to legal help. And that's how I started creating legal templates for privacy policies, disclaimers, like all the things that people need in an online space. And so we have bundles and templates, and that's just kind of like the whole like my legal shop started. And then I also added one-on-one work because every once in a while, a lot of people still need that access to me. And so I've had those services as well. So that's just kind of how it all started.
I'm so glad that you brought up how much time this took, because I think that it's so easy for people to look at you now and say, well, gosh, she's just been doing it for forever. It's just been easy for her. And it's like, no, this took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point. What year you were working 16 to 17-hour days. So what year did you watch that YouTube video on the blogging?
Yeah, if I go back in time, it's been 6 years. I don't remember the exact date. Yeah, it's been 6 years of doing this. Yeah.
So 6 years, like in 6 years, you've been able to grow this to a seven-figure business. And I think it just shows that, yes, you had immediate success overnight, but it wasn't literally like you woke up one day and you just had seven figures. It took lots of hours and time and a lot of hard work to be able to get to this point. But a lot of people are probably thinking, okay, that's great, but how do I do something like that? So your blogging, you mentioned that in your first year you made six figures. So what kind of like things did you think about when you were building this blog? And obviously you had the niche of employment or business law.
Yeah. So the thing with blogging, Megan, is that there's many different ways to monetize a blog. At least that's how what I learned, right? When I started back then. So there were many different strategies that I could use, but you don't want to just start every single thing because then you're not going to be good at everything, right? You have to kind of narrow down to one or two maybe strategies that resonate with you, your personality, your way of doing things, and then stick with those, master those, and then maybe then diversify and add more. So in my case, I could have done a lot of different things in the first year because the course that I took taught me a lot, but I kind of purposely limited myself to digital products because I saw the biggest return on those. Number one, it freed up my time, right? And then number two, I'm in control of my money, meaning it's my product. Yes, I could have focused a lot on affiliate marketing. That's another way to monetize a blog. And I do, but heavily my focus was always my own products, right? My own services, my own products. Because once again, it's my profit. It's also building my brand and building my reputation and my impact, right? Like your own products have that connection with your audience. So that was very important to me. And because I have this specialized way of helping people and my own experiences, so I knew that with the templates or even working with my clients and customers one on one was going to bring that value, that I couldn't. So I really just focused on that in the first year. And that's how I was able to make 210, I believe, yeah, 210K a year that first year. But again, it took literally like a one woman show. I had no help. I don't even know why it didn't occur to me that I should at least have a virtual assistant at the time. I didn't. And I just like really was working like crazy, but it was from my own products and services that I was able to get to that number, and then a little bit of affiliate marketing in the mix. And once I got there, then of course later on I added other revenue sources like sponsorships. Now I have ads, I have, affiliate marketing, of course. So there's different ways. But first you want to kind of narrow down and be very laser focused instead of being distracted.
And so when you say that you were promoting a lot of your digital products, you would create blog material that would complement your digital product.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. Because you want to teach, because the legal stuff is very complicated, right? So people always ask me a lot of questions like, oh, why do I need this agreement? Or I'll give you an example from yesterday. I had a pharmacist who is writing a book, and so she wanted me to review. So she booked a contract review consult with me where I'm reviewing her book to make sure that it's legally compliant before she starts all marketing and launching and everything. So there were some things that I found that she needed to change: the language, the photos that she used, they were not copyright free. So people have a lot of like scare and they get overwhelmed with the legal stuff. So there was a lot of that. So that's why the blog content provides that education, the knowledge, right? And I can do that one-on-one too, but by having these articles you get that access within minutes, right? And you don't even have to spend any money. And then if you like that, then obviously we build that relationship, and then obviously you would trust me to buy from me or my service or my templates or whatever. So that's kind of how that blog, I feel, really benefits me. It provides that free value, but it also hooks you, because I've had people tell me, I love your articles. They're long, but they're so informative. I've learned so much from you, or things like that. So I always get that, and honestly, it takes a lot of energy writing those blog posts.
Well, and I'm so glad that you did, because I think that having a one long form piece of content in your business is so critical for people to understand you. You mentioned like so they get to know you and they get to like you, and then eventually they get to become your customer. I think that having that long form content gets them to understand you as an individual. Gets they already like see they get to kind of put their toes in, test the waters, see if they like you before they buy, and you're constantly just serving and serving and serving. So that way when the sale does come, it just feels so natural and you really earned that. Like, I'm assuming that's kind of how you've been thinking about everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then also you want to, another thing I would add on to that is that the blog is also another way for you to get people onto your email list, right? So you have, your opt-in forms, you have free guides. Like I have a free legal guide for online business owners that shows them how to legally protect their businesses in seconds, right? Like you don't have to Google, you don't have to, you're literally getting this information from a lawyer who's experienced, who's seen. I used to be a litigation attorney, and so I've seen my fair share of all kinds of different legal troubles that business owners face, including my own dad. So it also provides them access to those kinds of things, whether it's trademark, whether it's LLC formation, so all kinds of stuff that I have on my website, which gives them access to, but then also then takes that relationship, as I mentioned, forward by working with me, or simply just grabbing even my template. I have people on my email list that sometimes wait 6 months, but they don't, but I love the fact that they still buy from me. It's not like they're going to somebody else. They're just literally saving up for whatever they're doing. Or maybe the timing is not right, but they tell me, oh, I was on your email list for like 6 months, but I finally got your VIP bundle. I'm so happy. And that really makes me happy because again, I've nurtured them, that relationship, right?
Well, and just hearing you talk, I'm thinking, gosh, I don't know what I'm doing with a lot of this stuff. I mean, when I went to start my own LLC, that even was overwhelming for me. Not being in this world, I actually had to enlist the help of my mom, who was a CPA, to help me with some of that stuff. But then what I also didn't realize is that every year there's an annual fee to renew the LLC, which I didn't know. So when I got the $800 bill that I wasn't expecting, that was definitely like, I had no idea that these things existed. So I think this education is so important. And again, you had mentioned you've now worked with over 100,000 people. So what would you say is kind of the biggest commonality that you're seeing amongst all of the people that you've been able to work with, as far as kind of the lack of education that we just as humans really are experiencing right now, again, among this topic?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there are a few things that for sure I see, like common mistakes, right? The number one I see is like people are not using contracts, and my dad being one of them, right? They think, oh, let me just go on Google, grab a free template. That's going to be enough for me to work with XYZ, or let me just now try to put together something on my own. So when it comes to the legal stuff, you don't want to make those mistakes, because I've had a lot of people come to me after the fact. After they piece together their own contract, and then a legal issue happens. And then they come to me and they're like, can you review this? This is what this person is alleging, but I don't think that's true. And I'm like, no, actually, they're right, because your contract is deficient. And I can see instantly because I write contracts for a living and I've been doing this for years. So I can spot instantly when I do website legal audits that this particular person literally just copy pasted or pieced together things and didn't take the time to either work with a lawyer or purchase legal templates from a lawyer. So that's one mistake I see all the time. And then later on, they pay for it. And it happens all the time. The second thing is that people are not aware of the different laws out there when it comes to the online space. And I certainly don't blame them because there's so many. There's privacy laws, there's Federal Trade Commission laws for affiliate disclosures, sponsorships. Like yesterday, I had somebody in my Facebook group. She is working with a brand for a sponsorship deal, and she was posting on Facebook and she was like, Amira, can you please take a minute to look at it to make sure I gave the proper disclosure, the language? Because if you don't, you will get fined, you'll get audited, you'll get sued. Federal Trade Commission, that's the agency that literally audits and regulates these requirements, right? You are required to give in a sponsorship disclosure if a brand has sponsored you to post. You are required to give an affiliate disclosure if I am an affiliate of your product, for example, or your course or something, and then I'm sharing it with my email list or on my website. I have to give that disclosure. So those are legal requirements that a lot of people struggle with. And again, I know that it gets very complicated. So that's why I provide those legal templates so that way I give you the exact language. I don't make you think it's like even a 10-year-old can do this. And I have written everything for you. I've done all the research, all the legwork, and you also get free template updates. So we've had in the last 6 years so many changes to privacy laws. First, the GDPR thing came about, which is the European law with privacy regulation that impacts everybody, even people like us in the US. Then the California law, CCPA, came about, which modeled the GDPR, and that also became a legal requirement in the US. Because if we don't, then we're looking at $7,500 at minimum fine. So from the California Secretary, State. So the thing is that all of these legal requirements are very hard to keep up with, right? So that's why I think you need a trusted resource lawyer in sort of like in your corner who's going to stay on top of all of these things. And I have a network of lawyers that I collaborate with, and so that way we can kind of all like stay on top of these regulations and laws and update things on our sites, whether it's our privacy policy, whether it's our disclaimers. I'll give you another example. AI is hot, right? But a lot of people don't know that AI is having, and I was just on a summit before this where I was giving my talk was about AI and the legal issues with AI, because AI is a big hot legal issue right now. Like there's been companies, ChatGPT being sued. There's been lots of companies being sued for not using AI correctly, or all the different issues that AI is presenting. So if you're using AI in business and you're not giving what's called an AI disclaimer on your site, posting it, then what are you doing? You're subjecting yourself to risk. But if you don't even know these risks, then you're not doing it willingly, but you're still getting in trouble, right? So those are the things. And then not to keep going on, but you mentioned LLC. That's another big one. I see sometimes people come to me like, I don't know, 3 years in business, and they're like, oh, now they're ready to form the LLC. And I'm like, okay, no problem, but you should have kind of done this sooner, because the minute you start making money, you want to separate. LLC provides that shield of separation between you and your business so that your personal assets are protected, like your home, your car, your bank account. And a lot of people wait too late to do that. But then there are the smart ones that come to me, literally, they haven't even launched their website or business, and they're working with me and in my 1 hour service, and we're getting their LLC, everything done literally in a like right before they even do the launch. So there's both ways, but you just want to make sure that at least at the end of the day, you are taking action and you're protecting yourself, because all of these things really make you look like a professional at the end of the day. Your business is not a hobby, right? It's a legitimate business. We're in the online space and we want to make sure that people take us seriously, and our reputation is everything.
And I'm so glad that you brought up AI, because I was going to ask you with ChatGPT, because you had mentioned that with a lot of the language that's being posted within these posts and these blogs, like a lot of people are starting to leverage these AI capabilities. And I'm sure there's a lot of legal jargon that is way over my head. And there's pages long that I'm probably not going to read. And to have that summarized for me is so valuable. And also summarized in words that I understand. Because I think that, especially in the law world, the average folk like myself, I will just be the first one to say it, I can read it and it's just gibberish to me. So what you do is so needed for all of us. And I think you mentioning moving your services from the one-on-one capacity, which you still do, but to also offer these digital products is allowing people like myself to be able to have access to all of this material that is going to protect us. Because like you said, our business is not a hobby. We're in it to make money. And if we're sued, then we're losing that money. And that's just not what we're here for at the end of the day. So I am so happy that our paths crossed. If people are listening to this now and they're really wanting to be able to tap into your one-on-one coaching or dive into some of these digital products or even get on your email list, where could they find out more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, first thing you should do is grab that free legal guide. It's on my website, and I also share the link with you. So, simply download that guide because it's going to walk you through the three most common legal mistakes. Again, in very simple, easy to understand terms, because I was a teacher. So, trust me, I know how to simplify. That's one of my strengths, that I will break down the complicated into these simple, easy to digest terms for you. And that's why we've maintained for 6 years now, we have thousands of love notes and 5-star reviews because of that. Because people always compliment me like, this was easier than I thought. I was more scared to take action, but once I took action and I got your templates or I worked with you, I can't believe that how relieved I am. And that's what my job is, right? To make things easy for you so that you're not sitting there. It's not a course that's going to bog you down or expect hours from you. I literally simplify things. So grab that free legal guide so that you could learn how to make your website legal. You can learn what policies that you must have. You can learn how to avoid those mistakes with the templates that I offer. And then, on my website, there's a lot of different resources. My YouTube channel, I have a lot of videos on different topics. And then everywhere you could just reach me at A Self Guru.
So good. Well, I always like to end with a piece of advice. So if there's a woman listening out there that is just eager to start a business of her own, but not sure where to start, you've obviously done this multiple times. You've started different careers. So what kind of advice would you provide to her?
Yeah. So, what I would say is that get out of your own way. I was the kind of person that had some, I would say, some limiting beliefs of my own. And I think your mindset is everything. If your mind says you can do it, you can do it. If your mind says you can't do it, then even if you have the potential to do it, you will not do it. So I believe that you have to get out of your own way. And the only way to conquer that, or to even conquer your fears or whatever is stopping you, is action. I'm a firm believer of that. There are many days, Megan, I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do this because I'm tired or my body is aching or this and that. But I remind myself that I'm going to feel so much better once I do this one thing. And I do. So I believe that action and progress is your biggest motivation. When you're going to take baby steps and you're going to take action, you will start gaining momentum, and that's going to inspire you, motivate you to do your next thing, to next thing. And that's just how it builds. Nothing builds overnight. It definitely takes consistent effort. And I think that you have to believe in yourself. You have to change that mindset and just go for it.
Just go for it. And I will say that my next piece of action for today is I'm going to go hop on your email list because this conversation is just giving me so many light bulb moments of all the things that I don't know that I know I now need to implement. So again, I'm so glad that our paths crossed today. And I know that everyone listening is thinking the same thing. So Amira, thank you so much for hopping on today's podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.